All right, welcome everybody. It's Albert Kaufman here, and I'm going to be talking to you today about how to find time to save time, some social media tips and tricks that I've learned and that I hope to share with you. I'm Albert Kaufman, and I am a social media teacher, trainer. I'm also really interested in email marketing, and actually, most of the time that I spend with clients and on my own time is to use Constant Contact suite of tools to present my thinking to the world and to work with clients to get their thinking out into the world. And these are some ways that you can keep in touch with me or find out what I'm thinking on social media. And I also wanted to let you know that today I will be taking questions. It'll probably be later on in the presentation. And also, if you're having difficulty with the presentation, please give Citrix customer support a call at 888-646-0014. And sometimes what I find is if you can't hear correctly or something else is an issue, that closing out the webinar and rejoining it works well. Also wanted to let you know that you will be hearing from me via email as well as Constant Contact after the presentation is over. So just so you know that. Wanted to let you know that I do offer classes like this webinar in person as well. And I will be doing a class on July 16th, which I'm very excited about. It's at a beautiful space here in Portland called Tabor Space. And it'll be getting started with content marketing with Brighton West. He's doing a lot of video marketing, and he's also an amazing guy who's he works with Friends of Trees here in Portland, and he's probably done more to increase the urban canopy here in Portland than anyone I know. And I'm also going to be joined by Sharon Sunshine Garrison, who's an incredible social media maven. And it'll be really exciting to be with the two of them. That's going to be on July 16th at 10 a.m. at Tabor Space. And then on July 30th, I'll be doing a Constant Contact product training here in town. And that's a paid event. But I will say that spending a whole day learning how to use Constant Contact is very recommended if you are interested in furthering your marketing efforts. So if you can make it to that, it's a full day. I believe it's $200 for the day, $100 per class, and it's all day. It'll be with me, and a couple other experts will be there as well. So why are we here today? As you are very well aware, I'm sure, you know that social media can have a large impact on your business and our lives, really. And I talk about this a lot when I teach, just how social media has, become a big part of all that we do. So, you know what? Let's see. Okay. And yeah, so, there's marketing your business via social media. There's the networking that you can do on social media. There's just a lot to talk about. And today I'm mostly going to focus on, what we're here to talk about, which is, saving time. We have a limited amount of time. And when asked about social media, the other folks that work with Constant Contact, like I do as authorized local experts, 78% of them remarked back that it was important to market their businesses using social media. So how do you find the time and run your own business along with social media marketing demands, and also have time for your own life? This is where today's webinar will come in and be helpful, hopefully. All right, so taking the time now to save time later and learn. That's pretty much what I recommend to a lot of people these days, is that you can actually take some time and learn what these tools can do for you, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, the various tools I'm going to talk to you about today. Actually taking the time to learn how they work really saves you a lot of time later. And I'm constantly talking to people who are frustrated with how social media works. And partly what's happening is that they may have learned something early on in their training, and then a year later, they're frustrated because they can't figure their way back to the same process. So continually learning how social media works if you're intending to use it for your business is key. So I'm glad you're here with me today. And time will also help you save money. There is no doubt about that. According to many small business owners and a survey that was conducted at Constant Contact, the estimated value of an extra hour in your day equates to $273. And so I'm hoping to save you time while doing your social media so you can benefit from social media and benefit from having more time in your day to do other things for your business. So today we're going to talk about curating content and why that's important to your social media strategy and the best ways to save time while you're curating great content. Next, we'll discuss what, why, and how using social media management tools. Then we'll talk about how you can utilize your events to create relevant content for your audience. We'll then discuss what apps you can use on your mobile devices to be social, even on the go. And finally, to ease your mind when it comes to social media, I'll be giving you tips on how to stop overthinking your content. And that last piece, I think, is really kind of key. And one of my favorite tips that's actually not a slide here, but I will share with you is one way to save time on social media is really just to create great content. If you create great content, if you take your time and really make something brilliant or find things that are brilliant, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, your social media efforts will go a lot better. So the less time that you take with it, in terms of thinking of what you are presenting to the world, I think that ends up leading to additional time because you end up wanting to do more. So think about that as we're going along. What kind of content can you bring forward that really both represents what you're about or what your business is about, and really will make an impression on the world? So first up, curating content. I'm sure you're wondering, what is that? It's the act of discovering, gathering, and presenting digital content that surrounds a specific subject matter. And it's really important when you are curating content, when you're finding things that other people have presented, that you give them credit, obviously. And the credit for this quote is contentcurationmarketing.com. So you've heard this a number of times in your life. I will not plagiarize. You can avoid the whole problem with plagiarization by giving credit when credit is due. So here are some various ways to do that. You can add a via before something. You can just really make it very clear that you are, sorry about that, you are crediting the person whose content you're borrowing. Now, usually that also will work just fine when you forward something or you retweet something. It becomes obvious where the content comes from. So there are many reasons why curated content should be a large part of your social media strategy. The first is the fact that there's not enough time in the day to create the amount of content you'll need for social media presence. Many people believe that you should be doing a post on Facebook about 1 to 2 times per day and tweeting between 5 and 9 times per day. This means you're posting a minimum of 6 pieces of content per day, and that can get to be a lot. So if you don't have the time to write the content on every topic related to your business, you can combine others' efforts to get a wide range of content for your viewers. And so I'm going to use this example of a woman who is doing exactly that. She is finding content out in the world, and she is using it to retweet. And this is exactly what content curation is all about. So here are some examples of retweets that she's done, finding other people's articles, finding other people's comments, and sending them back out into the world. So, another important attribute of curating content is the opportunity it provides you to build influential relationships with others in your field. So this is particularly evident in the Twitter world, or the Twitterverse, I guess as it's called, is that one thing that's happened is that people are, scratching each other's backs. I'm sharing content that I find of yours that's interesting. If you find content of mine that's interesting, you might share it as well. And you'll see, if you do look in the Twitterverse, you will see that this is, very common. So now you can see a little bit of why curating content is important, but the idea may seem tedious to you. Finding the time to post is one thing, but finding the time throughout the day to search the internet for good content is another. So what's really needed is a good RSS reader, and I've actually went out and looked to see what RSS stands for. It means Rich Site Summary. And what that is a way to bring in content into your world that you can, bring in by topic, or mostly by topic, by industry, that kind of thing. So one of the best ways to do that is by finding a good RSS reader. Feedly is one of those. There are many different RSS readers out there, but Feedly is one that is recommended. And you can basically just use that to tie in all of the different accounts that you have, and then you can search or add a feed. This is a little image of how the Feedly product looks on a desktop. There's also an app that I'll talk about a little bit later. But basically, you can set it up so that you're looking for particular kinds of articles, and you can then do some segmenting so that you're looking for different articles in different industries. So another way to curate content is to find content by having alerts set up. You can set up an alert with google.com/alerts. So I do this, for instance, with my business. I have it set up so that anytime the word Albert Ideation is written, I get an alert. And I also do an alert on my name, but you could be doing an alert on your business name, competitors' names, on really anything you want, and just get like a digest of that every day. This is a great way to see who's talking about your business. Email newsletters are a fantastic way to find content. More and more from my industry, which is email marketing and email newsletters, I'm finding that I am following a number of people who write great newsletters, and I'm using their content and referring back to them and sending people to see their brilliance. Because when you find somebody who's thinking that you think is great, what better thing to do in life than to share that with other people? So also, obviously, you can find content via social media as well. So next, I'm going to go into social media marketing tools. We've talked a little bit about where to find the content you're going to use for social media and how an RSS feeder can work. But here's going to be some ways that you can strategize, and some of the tools that you can use to organize your content into one place. And also, we'll talk a little bit about scheduling as well, scheduling posts. So the social media marketing tools, they have a few features. Scheduling, being able to schedule in advance your posts on any social media. Being able to engage your social media activity. So for instance, if you post something, being able to respond to it within one of these marketing tools. And then analytics, because if you're not measuring what you're doing, that sort of says to me a little bit that you're not caring. So making sure that you check analytics. You should be looking, if there's analytics available on any tool you use, have a look and see what the reports are saying. That will give you lots of clues as to what's working and what's not. So the first example of a great social media management tool is Hootsuite. And for many of you, you've probably heard this before. You can download, use Hootsuite at hootsuite.com. And Hootsuite is a fantastic social media manager. They are pretty much the main social media manager that I know of that's out there. This is an example of what the platform looks like and how one uses it. You can be looking at different views of different accounts. So for instance, this view is showing you two different Twitter accounts and what their feeds are about. You can add in different streams, and if you're willing to pay for Hootsuite, I believe, is free for the first 5 social media accounts. So you could have a Facebook account, a Twitter account, a Google Plus account, a LinkedIn account, and maybe another fan page or something on Facebook. You could be looking at all those different accounts in this sort of fashion, and then be scheduling out using this platform as well. And here's an example of how this user is doing scheduling on Hootsuite. There is a good tip here: don't just set it and forget it. And what that means is, if you are going to be doing scheduling of your social media, let's say you're going away for a month and you're on vacation in Bali, and we're sitting, by the side of a pool drinking daiquiris and watching people dance. Then all of a sudden something happens in your hometown where your newsletter is going out to, or your social media is going out to. You want to be aware of what you've said and who might be reading it when, just in case there is some sort of disaster or some sort of change in life that merits changing what you're doing. So it's good to be well aware of what you've posted and have ideas about that. Another of these is Market Me Suite, and that's also a way to be curating your content as well as scheduling. So here's a little bit of how that looks. And this is really wonderful that you can just go into the platform and do your work from there rather than being within Twitter or within Facebook. So the analytics side of these platforms can help you figure out what content is really resonating with your audience and seeing how many clicks each one of your posts or tweets received, as well as how well your engagement is going. You can see your total retweets and mentions over a period of time. And this helps you to see if one week was better than the last. You can also see if there's a large amount of mentions or retweets by looking at the peaks and valleys of the graph. And you can go back, see where the peak came from, and create similar content to continue the engagement increase. And that's great too within Facebook. If you're running a Facebook fan page, you can always look at the analytics as well and see what posts you've done in the past and how they've done. And if you find something that has just really resonated with your audience, you can both repeat that. You can actually, reshare the content, and you can also consider, okay, why was that such a winner? What were the conditions that led to that level of engagement? And the best feature is the ability to see how many clicks each one of your tweets with links received. So this will help you determine what content your audience is consuming and what they're not so interested in. If you're not looking at this information, you're truly shooting in the dark. So it's really important to know what content your audience is interested in and utilize that knowledge to continue sharing content they're looking for and will voluntarily consume. So here you can just see some of the analytics and what those are about. I find that looking at analytics on all of my social media and email marketing really gives me an idea of when I'm doing well and when I'm not. And I constantly encourage my clients to do that as well. And oftentimes I'll volunteer and go in and look at their analytics for them and tell them how things are going. Because if you're doing something and it's not working and you don't know it's not working, you can't really correct for it. So creating content and events. You now know a little bit about how to gather content for your social media channels and how management platforms can easily help you distribute that content. And in the next section, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to create content around what's going on at events you attend, run, or even speak at. So, one example for me would be right now, if I had set up a hashtag, we could all be tweeting about my brilliance here at the table in Portland, Oregon. But I have not done that. I have done that in the past, but here are some examples of how this can work. Whether or not you are doing it as an event leader or you're attending an event, here are a few tools that you can use. So one of them is called Word Swag, and that's what was used in this image right here. You can take an image of something and then you can write on it and post it. That is a cost. That is a paid service. WordSwag. Overgram, I believe, is free. The only issue with Overgram is that if you use the free version, you do get a watermark on the image. But there are probably hundreds of these tools out there. So look around and see which one is best for you. So, and if you are an expert in your field, you can follow up with folks who have participated. So somebody has participated in this event by using Twitter, and then you can follow up with that person and saying, and telling them, thanks a lot for coming to this. Maybe you'd like to come to that. Here's the information from our event, and here are the recordings, and here's a link to it. So there's all sorts of ways that you can use images, questions, and topics that you use during the event for the base of your social media, blog post, email newsletter. And there are just a lot of different ways to use an event for content now and in the future. So use these to your advantage. Here's another example. This is going out to maybe folks who attended this conference, and I was one of them, and I will again be one of them this year. I'm excited about that. And so here's just a note back out to folks who may be following the hashtag OneCon. So apps that can help. There are a lot of different options out there these days that can help you curate content, manage your social media, and do things on the go. But which one should you use? I'm going to talk about some of my favorite apps that help me save time engaging in social media. And most of these, I believe all of them have an iOS and an Android version. So we've got you covered. So Feedly, as I mentioned earlier, that is one of the recommended apps that you can use. This is a great way to categorize your blogs into industries and to easily find content. And you can do that on a platform that is not a laptop. Flipboard is another great way to subscribe to different magazines and get real-time updates when a new piece of content is created and share it with your social networks. This can also be done via the plus signs next to a magazine or a story. And I really like Flipboard also just for my own personal enjoyment. If you've never tried that out, it's a really clever way of having magazine subscriptions basically. And I'm often finding that if I'm waiting for a plane, which doesn't happen every day, but if I find myself waiting and I'd like to just distract a little bit and find myself something new and interesting, I use Flipboard. These are the pluses that I referred to before. Hootlit is a web extension. It's a browser extension, and that's something that's added to your internet browser that allows you to craft social posts. So you basically come out to your browser, and you can then click on the little Hootlit over in the top right, and that will basically grab the title of the page as well as as a shortened version of the URL. And then you can work with that a little bit. You can change the text within that Hootlit, that little chunk, and make it something that's more applicable, or tell people why you are sharing it. So that's something that's really good for, just a quick, I want to share something on Twitter, or I want to share something on Facebook. But whatever your Hootsuite settings are, they probably translate really well to this app. So I know that with Hootlit and as well as Buffer and others, you're able to able to share to all social media at once, which is one of the great benefits of it. So creating tabs for each of your clients within Hootsuite is a good idea. These apps do get a little bit crowded for a phone, so just be aware of that. And when you're using the app, you really want to try to not complicate your life, but try to make it simpler. Another great app is Buffer, buffer.com, and I will be sharing, by the way, the slides from today if had mentioned that I will be, and you'll be able to figure out from there exactly how to find all these tools. But Buffer is one that I use pretty much every day. It's like Hootsuite, but it's a little bit more. I find it a little bit more user friendly, and I don't use. I use Hootsuite to do a lot of responding back to various things that happen on Twitter. But when I'm publishing, I'm mostly using Buffer. And one of the reasons I'm using Buffer is that it's got this whole suggestions side of things, where it is sharing with me ideas that it has for posts that I might make. So I can kind of get in there and set it up so that, let's say I wanted to share with you ideas about Facebook. I could have just suggestions about Facebook, or I could have just suggestions about the World Cup, or whatever topic it is that I'm interested in sharing about. And I find that very useful. There's a new service out there too that I'm experimenting with called Drum Up, and I will share more about those in my email out to you after the webinar. So the art of not overthinking. I'm so glad we're here. We've covered a lot of information so far this morning, and I really appreciate your patience, and I will take some questions at the end. I'm sorry I haven't mentioned that since the beginning of the webinar, but I do want to talk a little bit about this idea of not overthinking social media. To me, social media is really supposed to be fun and casual. If you think about yourself when you are taking in social media, you're probably sitting back, you're thinking of it as a leisure activity. So you have to imagine that the person who is receiving whatever it is you're sending possibly is also in leisure mode. So there's an art of not overthinking because you really don't want to hurt yourself and your brand by thinking about it too much and turning people off. You want to be personable, and it's hard for anyone to do that when you're thinking about every single word. So getting out of your head, it's easy to overthink many things, especially when it involves your business. Don't forget, social media is filled with noise, and even if you do it correctly, your message will be heard by some, but it won't be heard by everyone. So here are a few things to keep in mind. So being curious, obviously a good way to go. Being yourself, being fun. These are all great ideas. And some say your social media voice should be your voice after a glass of wine. So here's our little social media person after a glass of wine. So one glass of wine and not more. But especially if you're doing work to share information about your business, I would highly recommend, not having more than one glass of wine if you're going to do that. If you're going to be your personal self, that's up to you. But I think if you're wanting to keep your business afloat, you probably don't want to be doing it inebriated. So just like anything else, practice makes perfect. The more you practice scheduling content and finding curated content, the easier and faster it will be for you to find the content that you're looking for. Craft social posts that will relate to your audience and schedule your content at the right time of the day. And I remember, when I first started doing social media, this was about 7-8 years ago, I really kind of struggled with what to say and how to find my voice. But as I have been paying attention to it over the years, I have just been finding that if I'm just myself, if I present me and I'm honest and I'm transparent and I'm hopefully somewhat interesting, I do find that people do respond to what I'm up to. And I also find, I haven't talked about this much today, but there is creating content and there's also responding to content. I think businesses probably undervalue and underdo the art of commenting on each other's information. One of the things I talked about a lot in my teaching early on with Facebook was that businesses right now have an ability to reach out to other businesses in a way that has never really existed in our lives. I mean, to reach out to 25 local businesses via their fan pages was something that marketers probably were dreaming of 10 and 20 and 30 years ago. So try that sometime. Get in there as you're fan page, let's say, and go and visit other fan pages and see what they're up to and engage in their conversations. Or on LinkedIn, the same thing can happen. So I got off a little bit on a tangent there, but so here are some next steps. I want to encourage you to set up an RSS reader. So Feedly is the one that I'm recommending, but there are hundreds out there. If you find one, FeedBurner is another. If you find one that really appeals to you, go for it. So download a curation app and a social media management app. This will save you a lot of time while you're on the go. So here are the two that I was recommending, Flipboard and Buffer. And if you're only going to do one thing today, I would recommend clicking on buffer.com and getting that started. That's probably the easiest way to start with social media management tools. So setting up a social media management tool, one that's right for you, and try using it twice a week. And also while you're setting it up, set up an analytics report and have it emailed to you bi-weekly. Again, if you're not doing analytics with all of the marketing work that you're doing, you're probably missing something out. You're missing something. And I think you'll find the information really valid and interesting. And a lot of these social media management tools really do a great job of recording over time, how your efforts are going. So, especially if you're trying to find more budget for social media in your organization, showing that what you're doing is working or that you're having a reach, will help your case. So here's a social media management tool that you can use, Hootsuite. MarketMe Suite is also an organization that does similar work, and they are a great social media management tool. Okay. So here's a link to the Constant Contact blog for more social media tips and tricks. And I do find that following organizations that are involved in social media is a great way to figure out what's going on and what's going to work for you. And if you don't have the time to do this work that I've been talking about today, there is a marketplace, .constantcontact.com, that is a great place to find folks who can help you out. I'm also here. If there's work that you want to outsource, you can always check in with me. And if I can't do it, I have a great group of friends and colleagues who I would be glad to refer you to, whether it's website design, SEO, email marketing, writing newsletters, doing social media. I know folks who do all of that, so glad to refer you. This is a little bit about me, various places you can find me online and in social media. Just because it doesn't say Instagram doesn't mean I'm not on Instagram. I'm Albert Kaufman 11, and but these are really the main places that I tend to put content out in and also engage with folks. Again, I wanted to remind you of the classes that I've got coming up in person, July 16th and July 30th. And if you haven't been to an in-person class lately, particularly on a tech subject, I would highly recommend coming out to either or both of these classes. There is really something special about being in a classroom setting with other small business owners who are trying to figure these kind of topics out. So if you haven't had a chance to come out to one of these recently, I would highly recommend you coming out. And you'll also hear about some other classes that are going on in the next period of time. Constant Contact, one of the great things about the organization is that they're really out there to help small businesses thrive. I'm going to go ahead and turn on questions. Let's see here. Give me a second. Okay, so you can go ahead and fire away with questions if you like, and I will take those in a moment. But I just wanted to finish up here and say that, so Constant Contact, one of the great things about the organization, besides, I think, a fantastic suite of tools that I use a lot, is the continuing education part. They encourage people like me, authorized local experts, to be out in the field all over the United States and beyond, providing content and information and training on social media, email marketing, their Confluence, mobile strategies, website strategies, And the classes are fantastic. They're generally free. You meet other people who are working on the same issues that you are, and they're fantastic. They're wonderful networking events. I've ended up connecting people who needed to be connected in the past, and so I want to encourage you to come out to one of my classes or one of my colleagues' classes. And in the Portland metro area, we've got Don Richardson teaching in Vancouver and Portland, Abigail Harris also in the area, and then we've got in the Pacific Northwest a number of excellent presenters. So if you get a chance to go out and see myself or one of my colleagues. So I am going to say thank you. I'm going to take a couple of questions now, and I want to appreciate you for spending the time with us today.